guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real, relevant, and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. And I am so excited to be here with you all today. And as you can see, we have two of our experts here, which is Dr. Tina J. Ramsay. How are you?
I'm okay. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. And we also have Sharon D. Brown. How are you, Sharon?
I'm doing well today. How about yourself?
Doing great, doing great. All right, so everyone in the virtual studio audience, let us know who you are and where you're visiting in from as well. We'd love to be able to put your name and a shout out to you also. So make sure you flood the comments and just chime in today's discussion. It's Freestyle Friday, y'all. So you know, on Freestyle Friday, we can talk about whatever you like. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you like, put it over in the comments section and we'll be happy to talk about it. Now, I'm not the expert on everything, so do not trip if I don't know the answer. And are you the expert on everything, Sharon?
Oh, no.
No. No.
We actually were talking backstage, everybody, and we were like, I said, oh my gosh, I didn't even get a quick briefing. I can look right now, but I didn't get a quick briefing on everything that's been going on because there's always so much happening, right? Mm-hmm. And then Dr. Tina, you said something pretty amazing. What did you say?
I don't even remember.
Oh. You actually said our own lives are news.
Oh, yeah. That's what I said. That's what I said.
Yeah, so literally, we don't always have to tune into what's happening in the world and in the news because sometimes the news is happening right in our own houses. So make sure if that's the case for you and you have some news that you want to talk about, not about pointing the finger out where all of the, all the other fingers are pointing, you pointing one finger, but all the other four are pointing back at you, then what's going on with you? What about you? Sister or brother, right? Because it's always different things that's going on, but it's how we react and handle those situations and circumstances. Are you all big believers in that? That is like how the theory, a quote that says it's 90% how we react to it, but 10% what happens. So it's 10% of what happens to us, 90% of how we frame it and how we put it out into the world and how we embody what's going on or embrace what's happening. That's a big deal. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Is that, a lot of times I kind of say we're not trained to know how to react. And so and when I say overreacting, not to, make it sound so simplified, but in a sense, because when something is happening, it's like the nervous system's like, oh, what's that? Oh, I don't know what that is. And so we're reacting more to that than we are, like you said, to the actual thing. And so the more that we can pay attention and really train ourselves to, not just be calm, but also how to take action too. Mm-hmm. And so that's really important. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So you think we can learn how to train ourselves to be able to have better reactions in situations and circumstances?
Well, listen, Kim, we're training ourselves every day. When we don't do, that's training. That's what people don't realize is that everything that we say, don't say, everything that we do, don't do. We can't control too much of how we feel about things, but I just say there's some room for that. But our mind and spirit or soul is so smart that it's looking for us, but nobody told us that. We just thought it was big.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're constantly training ourselves. So why not train yourself, in certain situations? Is like, hey, I am not going to overreact.
That's right. It, as people say, it is what it is. But I really kind of hate that saying sometimes. It doesn't. No, it doesn't have to be what it is. How about we change what it is and make it what we want it to be? That's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would prefer. You know. Yeah. You have any thoughts, Dr. Tina? I know this isn't even our topic. This is just freestyle. We freestyling. We flow.
Oh, well, for me, I agree with it as well. We have the ability, our brain is one of the smallest muscles or organs, I would say, in our body, but yet it holds the most power. I think, and well, I know that we as humans, we don't think that we can control the way that we react, the way, in some cases, the way that we feel. The initial shock of bad news, the initial shock of, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. You feel that anxiety, that panic. But in that moment, that's when you have to train yourself to look at the positive. And that is what I consistently remind myself of every day, no matter what I'm going through, because it's always a reaction. So it's a
Automatic.
positive and it's a negative. And so for me, even if it's a negative situation, I know it's something positive about that situation. So I look for the positive and try to lean heavily on the positive and do whatever I need to do. Like she said, to execute the positivity because it can be hard, but we do have that innate power, that skill. It just lay dormant in most of us because we're sinful and our natural inclination is to go towards the negative versus the positive. But for me, yeah, I agree with that. We do have we have most of the control in our ballpark. We just don't necessarily use it and never have been trained on how to train this mind.
Well, I don't know if you all had heard of this guy. I hadn't heard of him until it was just an actual ad. I was listening to some gospel music this morning, and I heard an ad from Jim Quick, some kind of official course that he offers on the Super Brain. And I never listened to all of the ads like for the full duration, but in this case, I listened to it, and it was probably about 10 minutes or so. I was getting even more drawn in based on what he was sharing. And he had an incident, and I don't want to mistell his story or anything, but I know that when he was younger, he fell at school or something, and he ended up getting a brain injury. And he was sharing in his own words that the teachers were labeling him as a child with a broken brain, and how that impacted him so negatively. But to the point where he decided that he was going to force himself to learn and retrain his brain to be able to read and be able to not have this learning disability. So in the middle of the night, he would actually get up, get under the cover, and with a flashlight, try to read these comic books. And that's what got him sparked to be able to start learning to read again. Fast forward, he ends up becoming one of the honorary type of Avengers. And it's a whole story associated with it. But it was such an inspiring story. So I was like, wow, now he's the trainer for some of the major thought leaders of the world. He's Oprah, and I saw Snoop Dogg, and I saw him with a picture of one of the presidents, all kind of people that he was now training, and clearly the Avengers, and with that whole studio and those characters became a real life dream come true for him. But he now is the person training them. So anything is possible is my point, right? Anything.
Yeah, anything.
Anything can happen. So guys, you all in the studio audience, tell us your thoughts. Do you believe that we're limited just to what we know at this point in life, or can we expand our capacity and be able to utilize more of our brain power? And so I see people putting comments, and I'll go back and capture them at some points throughout the broadcast. I see you, Andrea. Hey, Sharon. She's like, girl, look, I'm here for Sharon, right? That's what I want y'all to know. let me put my brain to work. Let's see. Judy says, good morning and God bless you. And Shirley says, we have the ability to train our brain to think positively. That's a quote from Dr. Tina, and Shirley is re-quoting it. Glad to have you all of you that are tuning in, whether you've typed a comment or not. We greatly appreciate you being here today. And feel free to get relaxed. Freestyle Friday, enjoy yourself. And we're going to have a great episode here for you. So, Dr. Tina, let's start with you today. What are you going to be talking to us about? Because before you talk, let me say this. There are so many different things that are being celebrated this month. It's Autism Acceptance Month. There's obviously Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Global Volunteer a Month, and Alcohol Awareness Month, Stress Awareness, something about guitar, okay. National Gardening. And that's something that's big right now. National Poetry and Arab American Heritage Month. So it's a lot more. It's like first of all, I don't even know how you can cram all of this stuff into a given month. That's every day of the month because there's a lot. National Burrito Day, all kind of stuff has been happening. The Cancer Awareness, National Food Month, you name it. And then financial literacy as well. So what are you going to be talking to us today about, Dr. Tina?
Well, I know I have on the media shirt, but I'm not going to be speaking about media on this discussion. I'm actually going to be speaking about homeschooling. And for those of you who may want to homeschool, have a desire to homeschool, maybe you have a child with special needs or developmental delay, autism, like myself, or maybe you have a child that's gifted and talented, or maybe you just don't know how to get started. So I'm here to answer the questions in regards to homeschooling, how you can do it effectively, and how you can lessen the stress of the transition from public to homeschool, or whether you want to start from scratch with homeschooling and the options that are available, or tips or strategies that I have learned from being a public school educator to now being a homeschooler. And now my baby is getting ready to graduate from high school. So, and
From the
he has
homeschool version?
from homeschool. From homeschool, yes. That's my second child, and then I will be on a whole different situation because my whole life dealing with homeschooling have been dedicated around my two beautiful blessings, my children, as well as the parents that I help with consulting them about their children. So I'm talking about education, homeschooling. So
Homeschooling.
yes.
Yeah.
And if you want to speak some about autism, we can speak about that as well. Being that I am a mother with a child with autism, and I am also a certified special needs educator.
Very, very good. Certified special needs educator. And so put your comments, your questions, tag some friends. We all have friends that are always wanting to know more about homeschooling. So tag them, invite them into the broadcast, and give them a chance to ask their questions. Especially sometimes you have to pay for these consultations, y'all.
Oh, you always have to pay for these consultations, but not today. This is given on to the people for free.
See? So you know what? And that's such a blessing. But listen, I know whenever I think about homeschooling, because I've also been a homeschool mom, I think about the fact that I had to become this principal. When I went to register everything, I was like, wait. I was the person that would tell my girlfriend, Sean, all the time, because she was homeschooling her kids. And I was like, girl, please, I would never. That's why you never say never. Because I was like, I would. Oh, ain't nobody's homeschool teacher. So people that are like me that thought they would never find themselves being a homeschool teacher, but then they find that for the best interest of their child, they become a homeschool teacher. What do you have to say about stuff like that? Any advice?
Ironically, I was that mother as well. I'm gonna keep it 100. I mean, even though myself, I'm a former public school educator. So when I say that, I went to school for special needs education. So when I worked in the school, I was what they call a behavior specialist. So I help children work through behavior issues. And I work with the family, I work with the student, and also I assisted the child in the educational environment to make sure they hit those goals, to make sure that they're able to effectively manage their emotions properly and communicate. So basically the communication liaison between the administrator, teachers, parents, student. And so I am a product of public school. So I never even thought about homeschooling, never came on my radar. I didn't even realize that it existed. No.
Well,
And when
that's
I heard,
really, really, really far out.
I was like, and when I heard about it, I was like, that's a little radical, don't you think? That's a little extreme. And so what really caused me to look at it was the fact that my son that also has autism and developmental delay, he also is what they call medical sensitive. So he had health issues. And so we found ourselves in the doctor office 24/7. So much so that he was taking antibiotics, all kind of different things for all the germs that he was, exposed to on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And he became immune to the antibiotics. So meaning if he got sick, nothing worked because he was taking it too much that his body just got used to it, right? And so my mom was like, why don't you educate him at home? Why don't you homeschool? Such and such and such. In the congregation, they homeschool. I was like, well, that's them. That's not me. And so she constantly would tell me different little stuff. And I always did stuff in the community for 25 years, helping the University of South Carolina, tutoring kindergarten through 12th grade. So that wasn't unusual for me, but the unusual part was the stigma that was associated around homeschooling, leaving the homeschooling environment, leaving the education environment and not really understanding whether or not I could handle being totally responsible for my child's education. The mental part of it saying, well, what if I don't do it right? What if I'm missing? All of the things that you think about, and can I effectively homeschool not only my child, but a child that has special needs and a child that has that's gifted and talented in the top 4% of our county in education. How do I do it? Right. And I didn't have too many examples around this small town I live in. So basically that was my dilemma. But when your children are sick, when your children need help, when you want the best for your child as a mom, that warrior spirit comes out and you're like, whatever my child needs, I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out regardless of the stigma around, because I come from a family of educators and military. So when I started homeschooling, all of the generations of teachers said, excuse you, you're not going to go to the academy and teach now? You're going to be home? Oh, really? So I had all of that in my ears. And so that was what really began everything. And I'm honestly wish I would have started earlier. And I'm glad that I went through, because that was a faith walk with myself and God for a very long time. I had to really lean onto him on the right direction. And then later God birthed businesses. He birthed so much from those experiences. And now he's enabled me to be able to help other parents who went through what I went through, feel the way I felt, but may not necessarily have the courage to be transparent about, you just don't know everything, but hey, let me help you through X, Y, Z. And so that's pretty much my homeschooling journey and how I became a homeschooler. But I was not on the boat in the beginning, honey. I got thrust into homeschooling by circumstance and just made the best out of it.
But that was the same. That was the same with me. With my daughter, she was going through with two things. One was my son, who was having an interesting experience in school. And when I met with the teacher, I was like, you know what? This one teacher is going to be a real challenge. And this could go south, a real south. And I love teachers, and I love the relationships that I have with all of my children's teachers. They are great. Not even like, okay, they are super phenomenal teachers that have their whole heart into caring for your child when you're not able to be with your child while they're there for almost 8 hours a day. You want to make sure that child has a great experience and that there's some kind of real connection happening, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
But in this case, when I personally met with the teacher, I said, this lady right here is going to be a problem. A serious problem is going to pop off here. And I knew that as a mom, because I'm the advocate for my child. And then even in some pieces of the environment, my son would call, he'd be like, Mom, they're shooting over here. like, what? Sure. I was like, I was like, you know what? He would be crying. I was like, you know what? This is crazy. So what I'm going to
Mhm.
do is get him out of the situation. And then he can always go back. That's what I like about homeschooling. You can always,
Yeah, you
but
can
you
anytime.
know, at this phase or season of your life, we need to get you out for what we both feel is the best interest of you as the child. Then let's make it happen.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons that I did with one of my children, and it worked out very well. And then with my daughter, you know, I only have one daughter, so everybody when I say the daughter, you know, it's Jayla. With Jayla, we were going to the hospital. She would have to be in the hospital and miss about a month of school with her cystic fibrosis. Miss
Mhm.
10 days because of the hospital stay. Then come home with a PICC line and a stand that she had to be kind of attached to, and the home health
Mhm.
nurse would come and train me on how to do the infusions and different things. And I was like, okay, this is a lot. So how is she going to be able to stay up with the schoolwork, you know?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
we were able to get her in the homeschool setting, and she loved it. She loved homeschool, loved it. But now she's back in like a charter school situation, and she's in a hybrid program where she goes a
Mhm.
couple of days, and then a couple of days she's at home doing online learning. So it's a good give and take, you know?
It is. It's so many options now. And I forgot to say another reason why I pulled my child out of school was it was excessive bullying going on, and no one was doing anything about it. It was becoming a very unsafe environment for not only my son, but my daughter as well. So the values that they was exemplifying with that particular teacher in that particular classroom at that time was not ideal.
Mhm.
And so it was mental, it was physical, and it was spiritual.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was just, I had no other option because it was damaging them from a mental standpoint with anxiety, panic attacks. I mean, social anxiety. I
Yeah.
mean, no child should have to deal with that type of stress because trust and believe when you get older, you're going to have enough of it. So be
Right.
careful and live. And so it was various different things that kind of pyramided, that cause the overall what they people call extreme measures of removing or withdrawing my children from public school. Now I have had experiences with great teachers. I'm not knocking
Yeah. Great.
an entire educational system. I'm just saying that particular year was a very uh, a very treacherous year to say the least. And it was testing me as a Christian. And I said, I don't need to be showing off because I'm representing the Lord. I need to keep my peace.
Right. Right.
So I said, this is not a good situation. I just had to move, change the situation. So
I get it.
but it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Now that I reflect back on it, and I feel like it was God's plan for our family.
Right. Good. And
Mm.
then Sharon, if you would too, because I know you're our self-carepreneur expert, and even though we're talking right now about homeschooling with children, and you're a mother figure to a lot of people, but I want to get your perspective for some of the moms and women that get stressed out about dealing with homeschool, even though that's not the topic you're going to be talking about today. But I would just love to hear your thoughts on that, because many parents, I'm telling you, it can take your breath away when you're trying to do something that you don't feel you're skilled at doing. And then it's
Oh,
your new world.
oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, first of all, when I was listening to both of you, the first thing that came to my mind is that both of you all demonstrated self-care. You demonstrated self-care for yourself in making sure that your kids are safe and have a really good learning environment, but also for your kids too, meaning in teaching them in that, okay, if a situation is not conducive, there are different alternatives to that. I don't have to be stuck And then, and like with your child, Kim, was able to go back and say, hey, I can return. And one, it's a different environment. And also two, in building up, I would say, different skills and characteristics that come along with that. So when it comes to self-care, my thing on self-care, because a lot of times people think about the luxury of self-care, the bubble baths and all of that. And that is true too, but it's also the hard work. It's like, even though it's scary, but that is where your gift is. That is how you grow. So self-care really is cultivating yourself, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and even financially, to be the best version of yourself. And the only way you can be the best version is to step into, new water, or either create your own water, and what you all both did. And so I guess you could say, for mothers, or I just say parents, if they're deciding to do that, you're thinking about the long haul. And so even though it is scary in doing that, but know that there's a benefit. So self-care isn't just about feeling good now. It's the thing that you're doing today that's going to benefit you tomorrow. So as long as they have that in hand, hopefully that allows them to do what needs to be done, even though it's scary, even though it's hard, even though it's challenging, but no, it's beneficial for both. Because otherwise, you as mothers would have been worried about your child.
All day long, especially, yes. All day. So you that is just great advice. And anyone in the studio audience, hey, I see Dr. Nikki Ziegler. How are you?
Hi, Nikki.
Hey, my family. I love Dr. Ziegler. She is okay. You're so awesome.
She's
glad
amazing.
to have you here. Let's see. Sure. That's why I need to put my glasses on for a second. Okay. Shergill says, amazing, amazing. And Judy said, I am plugged into the source of God, no limit to what I am learning. And that's when we were talking about the brain and how we can expand our capacity to learn. And I know in that one story that I was reading, they was listening to, he started reading one book each week. And that also just improved his capacity to learn and to retain different things. I know one of my sons, Frankie, all of my children actually are avid readers, all of them. But my son, Frankie, when he was younger, he lost an accelerated reading competition. He came in second place, and that turned his entire world around to the point where he started becoming even more of an avid reader. And now, like today, he's just like a really brilliant mastermind when it comes to just the way he thinks. If you have a conversation with him, it's not going to be a normal, it's just very different level of conversation because of all that he's retained over his lifetime. So reading definitely can help anybody that's wanting to become a leader. All readers can become leaders, in my opinion. And a leader should be a reader. All right. So with homeschool, any other questions that people have? Because I know I also think about with homeschooling, there are certain things that you have to make sure are in order. Hey, Dr. Nikki, there are different things that have to be in place and organized when you're a homeschool parent. Any thoughts that you want to share about that? Because you can't just start teaching.
Okay, so one thing that all parents have to understand, and it's going to sound maybe a little rude, but I'm that person that's going to tell you like it is, okay? And it's all in love. You may have birthed that child. You may have named that child. God may have blessed you with that child. But when you go and sign your child into any public school institution, your child is no longer your child. Your child becomes a number within the system where you have to be accountable to that district about your child's education. So if you make the decision that you want to homeschool your child, you cannot just say, oh, I'm not sending them back to school, because you had to sign them in and you have to withdraw them out. And there's procedures that you have to do. So say, for example, you're a parent and you want to homeschool your child. You cannot just forcibly remove your child without proper documentations, without having the certain requirements based upon your state. Some states are a little bit more lenient, meaning they have no oversight. meaning you can homeschool, but you do have to remove your child from school. And you have to literally sign a document and ask for a copy for your records to remove them from school. And some states are moderate, which means that, like, South Carolina is a moderate state. We have oversight or for the school district, have to report grades, IEPs, all the different things, right, that you would do in the public school. We just do it at homeschool. Then you have strict states. Strict states are states that's you have to do all of that, and plus you have to have a facilitator come into your house that they do testing and different things like that for your children during a certain period of time. Every quarter. And so you need to understand the laws of which the state of which you live in, so that you will not find yourself on the bad side of the law. Because if you find yourself on the other end of the law that's not so positive, say, for example, your child missed 10 days, mostly in every state, if I'm correct, it's 180 days for your child to do school, and mostly in every state. And 10 days mean that your child missed 10 days of school, without any excuse, without any accountability, without any knowledge to school of why, then your child falls in the category of truancy. And truancy means that you have now become a neglectful parent. It also means that CPS, Child Protective Services, has the legal right to come to your home and remove your child due to being a neglectful parent. That's right. Okay? And so many of us feel like, because it's my baby, I can do what I want. No. You have to follow the rules, the regulations, and the laws of the land of which you live, the territory, the state of which you live, and make sure that you follow those. And I caution you to make sure that you always get a copy of everything that you do in regards to your communication with the school district, with the school, with your doctors. Get everything documented, because you may need to show proof later on. You may not, but if you do, you will have the documents, because if you don't do it and you go back to try to get it, it's a lot of red tape and they may not give it to you. And then you find yourself trying to fight for your kids, trying to do all of these different things. So make sure that you follow the rules of the state. Every state is a little bit different. And so make sure you follow that. You can go to HL Homeschooling Legal Defense .org, and they have like a whole United States map that you can literally click on the state, and it will let you know whether your states fall into mild, moderate, or severe. And then they can let you know what that looks like for you to be able to homeschool your children. And they can also, if you do their membership, they can also provide legal services for you, where a lawyer can fight on your behalf if you ever find yourself needing some legal advice or legal care, if you find yourself in that situation with homeschooling. But know that the same way you got your children in is the same way you need to get them out. You need to sign them in, you have to sign them out and keep copies. But it's a whole lot of
and have transcripts too, because I know the program that I use, that's the thing that is also the beauty of homeschooling. You don't have to be the person that does all of the teaching yourself. And we're going to have Dr. Tina coming on anyway as one of our Freestyle Friday experts, so we don't have to cover every single topic in this one episode, because it's so many facets to homeschooling, and she knows the ins and outs of most of them, even though she's being very modest today, because I'm going to take a brief commercial break and then I'm going to come back and we're going to hear from Sharon, our self-carepreneur expert. And when you hear what self-carepreneur means, it's a whole different spin on self-care. You will never think, I don't even think the same again after hearing what Sharon D. Brown is saying pertaining to self-carepreneurship. I'm a self-carepreneur person. Care for myself. And 1, 2, 3, I'll let her talk about it. I'm not, they're gonna spoil it. Okay. All right. So, but what I was saying is that Dr. Tina Ramsay is being very modest. She is an author, a mogul, a person that deals with podcasting and knows the ins and outs of the podcasting world. So I'm going to put her contact information up here so that you'll know how to stay connected with her about homeschooling, yes, but also about podcasting and CTR Media Network, which she founded. Her and her husband are the founders of this empire that streams in over 100,000 countries, 350 million households, okay? And actually, the Kim Jacobs Show is one of those shows that streams there. All right, so how do they stay connected with you, Dr. Tina?
CTR Homeschooling, if you need homeschooling help, and CTR Media Network, if you are an entrepreneur or podcaster seeking more visibility to get your stuff out there. And also, we train you as well. So if you need media, interviews, you need me to come speak at an event, CTR Media Network. They can also call our global toll-free number, and one of our team members to answer the phone. If we're busy, you can leave a message. It's 1-877-287-6552.
Wait,
Again,
wait a minute. Let's type that. Give me a second.
Okay.
What is it?
1-877-287-6552 for, and then we have extensions. So I am extension 800. Then we have extension 801 for CTR Media Network, extension 802 for CTR Homeschooling, and extension 803 for our 501c3 nonprofit.
You made me get my cloth because I done turned into a hormonal hot flash over here. Well, let's type.
You can't type all that, but I'm just saying you got, because when you go through the prompts to let you know, and you can just match the extension of wherever the department you want or seeking help with. But yes, homeschooling, I do homeschooling and podcasting media, helping entrepreneurs and business owners along with de-stressing the homeschooling process. That's what we do.
Well, I usually don't put CTR Media Network as what I put on here. I would usually go to Kim Jacobs, or Kim Jacobs, one of the other streaming sources. But since the founder of it is on here, I'm going to put CTR Media Network is inviting you to contact Dr. Tina Ramsay at 877-287-6552, extension 800, and you'll be able to reach Dr. Tina J. Ramsay. All right, everybody, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back, and we're going to hear from Sharon D. Brown. So you know what? Mackenzie, I didn't tell you this. So now Mackenzie's backstage. She's like, oh, Kim is throwing me off. I would like to play this. I'm going to play this CTR right quick. I'll be right back.
CTR Media Network is now accepting new podcasters to join our growing network that's reaching 350 million global listeners. Have you heard? CTR Media Network offers podcast production, podcast training, distribution, and product placement. Book us for your next event or schedule an interview with CTR Media Network podcasters today. To learn more, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.
All right, everyone, we are back, and that's just a beautiful promo of CTR Media Network. So make sure you check out Dr. Tina J. Ramsay. All right, let's go with you, Sharon D. Brown, our self-carepreneur expert. How are you today?
Doing well. Thank you, Kim. And I just want to let everybody know who's not familiar with me. I'm the founder of Self-Care U Academy, and that's pretty much is where you're looking at self-care, and you use self-care to be successful in life, in business. And again, it's not just the luxury of self-care, meaning massages and bubble baths and hot chocolate, because I love hot chocolate, but it is also in challenging yourself. And so it's pretty much just like choosing challenges over comfort. And, that's not always an easy thing to do. And one thing that I did here in listening to Dr. Tina and listening to Kim is that they chose the challenges to advocate for their children. So that is a form of self-care, and because you're getting those benefits in the future. So today, what I wanted to pretty much focus on is one, because this is Financial Literacy Month and Stress Awareness Month, I kind of figure, those two would go hand in hand. So I'm going to talk about the cost of living. And I want to kind of step back a little bit, because sometimes when people think about, they hear about financial literacy, like, well, what is that? They know it has something to do with money, but don't really know what it is. But on the basic term, what financial literacy is having the knowledge to make informed choices on money. So that's whether in managing, investing, what to do with your money, even how to make money, and how money can benefit you. That's really the basic. And when it comes down to it, most of us have never been taught. But what ends up happening, most of the time people say, oh, this costs too much. Let's just say massages, And I remember when I was growing up, when I heard about massages, it was something like in the far left field. It was nothing attainable. Oh, that's for the rich, that's a luxury.
That's for the rich, right? It's like, yeah, that's true.
And even when I think about it, blueberries was like that too. I don't know about y'all.
You said blueberries?
Yeah.
You don't went all the way to
was like that. It was something, it wasn't.
But you're not gonna eat no blueberry. That's that right there for the rich folks. Like, what?
It wasn't anything, you were going to get every day. But before I step, really into this, I want to read this quote. And the first time I heard it from one of Dr. Stacia Pierce. And she's a motivational speaker, and she's a wealth builder and mindset when it comes to that. But she's the first person that I ever heard say this. And I'm like, I got to look this up.
Right.
But this quote comes from Wallace Wattles. And it says, no man or woman, he didn't say woman, but he just meant person. But no man can rise to his greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. For to unfold the soul and develop talent, he must have many things to use, and he cannot have these things unless he has money to buy them.
Drop the mic. Say it one more time, because sometimes people do stuff twice or three times, and they don't want to have to rewind the show to hear it. So just say one more again. Okay, come on.
No man can rise to his greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. For to unfold the soul and develop talent, he must have many things to use, and he cannot have these things unless he has money to buy them with.
How many people agree with that in the studio audience? Let me put my own comment. I totally agree.
Wow.
Totally agree? You have to have money. Why? We'll expound on his philosophy from your self-carepreneur perspective.
Yeah, pretty much. When I heard that, it pretty much really put things in perspective, because there's a lot of myths, and especially like when it comes to the rich or the wealthy, right. When people say, oh, well, they do this with their money, why they got to do this, well, why would they share, and things like that. But it's really for each of us to do it ourselves. Number one, the self-care piece comes into just by doing it, whatever it takes to earn the money. That in of itself is going to help develop you. And let's just say with the massages, now there are benefits in massages. Like earlier on in my life, I didn't understand the benefits, but now that I understand it in a much deeper level, if you just think about, trauma and just having stress in life, massages help with the nervous system. It helps settles that. So why do you think you feel so relaxed afterwards?
Yeah. Why?
As you know, and that's because it helps settles the nervous system, because it's doing all of that. And you got somebody, they get paid. You know why they get paid? Because they got training.
That's it.
You're
you know what?
paying
Some
them
of the
for the
stuff you're saying,
education.
it makes so much sense, but then really it's hard for people to put these things in motion because you're like, because they got training. That's why. So it makes basic sense, but basic is not always, people say math isn't always mathing, right? So what's up with that?
And even with that, they know something that you don't know, and they're doing something that you can't do for yourself. Even for those of us who are degreed, who went to school, that's why we went to school. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody have knowledge in doing things. And for those of us who are entrepreneurs, we're familiar with master classes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we go to master classes, because somebody has experience and the knowledge of something that we don't. So how this ties into the cost of living, because someone would say, oh, a master class is too much. That master class is too much. That workshop is too much. They may say that our services may be too much.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's going to help you in the long run, how is it too much? And so the cost of living is the flip side of it. I'm going to kind of tie it going back to the massage and then exercise as well. Like when it comes to exercise, I just don't feel like walking. Why I got to walk? Why I got to exercise? But what is it that people say, especially with weightlifting? I don't like weightlifting. I never did, but I do it because I know the benefits of it. And I need to increase it because I have kind of slowed down a little bit, but that's another story.
On Freestyle Friday. We're going to keep this video for you for later.
But it's like, some people say, well, I don't want to do it because of the aches and pain. But the question is, do you want the aches of pain of doing nothing? And then the side effects of doing nothing, or the benefits of doing something?
That's good. That's good. Of course, I want the benefits of doing something is what everybody would automatically say. But the action speaks louder than any words that we say out of our mouths, So,
yeah. And
action
so
doesn't line up.
Going out and earning the money. And again, we're talking about financial literacy too, in managing your money so that you can invest in yourself. Because as you invest in yourself, in every aspect, it's going to benefit you, and it's going to benefit your family. It's going to, and like for those of us who are entrepreneurs, it benefit those that we provide services for. If you have teams, it's going to benefit those individuals as well. And so instead of looking at something, oh, this costs too much, this is too hard, this is too much, look at it as, how is it going to benefit me? Now, it may not benefit you today. It may not even benefit you tomorrow, but it's going to benefit you in the future. And that's the same way we need to think about our money. Because I had, until I got into financial services, I'm like, whoa.
You learned so much now.
Say that again.
So you've learned so much now that you can implement and teach others as a result, because you're like a whole different person since from when you started with this wealth training or whatever. I don't even know, because I don't know you at that level, but I know that there's a difference from what happened a while ago to now. What is that difference? Tell me briefly, what is that?
Well, pretty much the more you know something, the more that you are in the rooms with different people. When people say, oh, you changed, that's what you just told me. You told me I changed. So thank you.
You know what, the change, just like, and again, I'm from a spiritual perspective, I see the glory of God all over different people once they step into certain seasons in their lives. And so to me, that's kind of what I'm saying when it comes to just the financial knowledge and growth that is happening over in your world too.
Thank you for that. And so, and I'm glad that you pretty much said that too, because of the fact is that when we increase our knowledge in a certain area, we grow, and we don't just grow in one area, we grow spiritually. Remember I said about what self-care does, it cultivates us. That's what it does. It, for the most part, it cultivates us in all areas in our lives if we allow it. And one thing that I want to point out when it comes to financial literacy is that we can complain and say, I don't have this and they have that. But let me tell you, one thing that I learned once I became an entrepreneur, like, how come y'all didn't tell me?
Right. Yeah, it kind of makes you mad because it's like, what? I could have known this for like 20-something years.
That part. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like there's a wonderfulness about it because it allows you to be more of you. And part of it is a lot of work. So I see where the wealthy, where they're like, oh no, you got to do something. Because you know why? If you're not doing anything, you're not preparing for it. You're not ready for it. And there's certain things that you do not understand because you have to go through it. And so the other part of that is that we as a community, we're not going to ever be at a certain level, and especially in having the money to live, again, the cost of living, if we're not studying and learning about money.
That's good. That's good.
And so that goes to every part of us, is to invest in ourselves and to learn and to go into rooms. And once I stepped into entrepreneurship, and especially once I got into certain rooms, and then I came to realize, I understand now. You know how they say, oh, they can do that because of who they know. It is who you know. It truly is.
Like, it's not a bad thing. It's like, get to know some folk.
No, because really, when you look at, like the entertainers, the musicians and different people, look at who their friends are. They're friends with each other. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be friends with me yet.
They're missing out. I can tell you that. Listen, all of you celebrities out there, if you don't know Dr. Sharon D. Brown and Dr. Tina J. Ramsay, then I'm telling you, your life could be so much better if you just incorporate them into it, because they have something to share that is only a gift that God has given them. So you're missing out.
And also include yourself too, Kim, Don't leave yourself out.
That's funny. Okay. But now how does the financial literacy piece of self-carepreneurship correlate to self-care the way that we traditionally know it?
Yeah, the way that we traditionally know it, a lot of times people think of self-care is, again, like the products of it, the outcome of it is, being able to relax, being able to have the bubble bath or eat the chocolate. But those are really the byproducts of it, meaning the work that you do. Because even if you just look at entrepreneurship, like with Dr. Tina, with both of y'all, when it came to homeschooling, what you had to educate yourself about homeschooling. Like, even though Dr. Tina is already an educator, but she had to pivot and learn something different in a different way. So self-care it's almost like the drive, the determination, the perseverance to be able to do things and to see a bigger picture, and also to have the courage to, step up to the school and for both of y'all say, hey, I'm going to do this because I don't like this, And so self-care is also in developing that courage, because sometimes, like some things, like as parents, sometimes you may just do it instinct for your children, but you may not always do it for yourself. but I'm pretty sure as an entrepreneur, you develop those skills. And so that's where it's different in the traditional sense. And that's my goal is to get people to start looking at, challenges as something good, because we need it to grow. Because if not, we'll stay stagnated. And then we were talking about being, like your grade is being a great giver, we're not able to really be that, and we're not authentic. And just like, that quote that I read, we have to be able to nurture ourselves, and we need to be able to manage money, to have money, and to allow money to grow. So meaning to step into rooms in order to hear and learn, and not think, when somebody say insurance that, oh, they trying to sell me something. Okay, well, just continue to be broke. Or unfortunately, to allow something, to happen to your family, if they die, or even, if they have a heart attack or stroke. A lot of times people don't have money for the medical care. And so again, when it comes to the cost of living, that's part of it. The cost of living is what are the, what discipline that we have in play so that we can have a joyful and fulfilled life later on. But at the same time, currently, we're still living in joy. It's like a both.
That's good. This is really great teaching. And I know you come on as well as one of our frequent Freestyle Friday experts. So I cannot wait for us to continue to have this level of discussion pertaining to self-carepreneurship. It sounds like it's never ending when you really think about it, because I was like, well, how many topics can you have on self-carepreneurship? Girl, you can go on and on and on and on, because it's just, you're ever evolving in that process. And I love it. I love it. Now, did you have any other points that you wanted to make before I asked you how people can stay connected?
The only thing I just want to say is that when it comes to really life, period, but I just want people to think about this when it comes to money, that, take time to educate yourself, take time to plan, and take time to execute. Because, in order, the truth of the matter is, in order for us to truly have generational wealth and to close the economic gap, is not just talking about the system, but to develop your own system. And the only way you can do that is to educate yourself, to make a plan, and to execute.
Wow. Okay. So basically, we have another Freestyle Friday expert that comes on too, and his name is Marvin Wilson, and he talks about being the bank. And so I really love your philosophy on being able to educate ourselves to be able to know how to financially plan better. This is just like drop the mic moments today on the Freestyle Friday episode here. So, wow. Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to pop them in. We'll pop some of them up right here towards the end of the show. Let's see. Mackenzie, I see a comment, I think from Candace. So let's pop that comment up. You say, hey, Sharon D. Brown. Hey, ladies. Hey.
Hey,
Candace. It's a pleasure to see you here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see lots of other people. I don't want to call your names out since you already put comments, but I see a whole bunch of folks, and I can see your names and stuff over on my phone. But I'm not gonna call you out if you didn't put it. Sherry says, "Hey, Sharon D. Brown." Everybody put the D. Why they gotta put the D? Why not just Sharon Brown?
Oh no. Hey, it's because it is who I am and who I identify, because there's too many other Sharon Browns out there, and I want everybody to know it is me.
Oh. Should I be saying Kim D. Jacobs? I guess it could be.
Hey.
I do see that.
That's why I have Dr. Tina J. Ramsay. That's exactly why.
My friend Sean, she always say Sean A. Hall. So everybody put their middle, and that's hilarious. Okay. I do say Kim D. Jacobs a lot on different regards, but it's more personal stuff, not business. But anyway, this is good. This is a good conversation that we've had. How do people stay in contact with you, Sharon D. Brown?
Yes, the best way to stay in touch with me is through Instagram at I am Sharon D. Brown, and definitely get in touch with me this month, especially about this month being Financial Literacy Month, so that I can get you in the room to learn about, your finances, because the only way that we can change all of this, and especially if we're talking about growing generational wealth, is to get educated on it first.
Excellent. Excellent. And you know what? I'm going to say this as if we're closing this show, but we've talked the whole time about this being the month of certain things that we're recognizing and speaking about. So we know it's the month of April, but if you're watching this episode and it's a different month, just enjoy the content and all of the information that's being shared, because this is stuff that can be applied to your life or your business or homeschooling any month of the year. So just keep that in mind. And we're really grateful that you all tuned in today to the Kim Jacobs Show. I do want to offer you the opportunity, if you believe that any aspect of our programming helps you and your family have better balance in your household, because I know in my household it's better balance just because of the people that are coming on as my own guests. So I need to sow into my own show, right? I do, by advertising and all kinds of things. But if it's blessed you in your household, please sow into the Kim Jacobs Show. And you can do that through Cash App, $Kimjacobsinc. You can also do it through PayPal, which is paypal.me/KimJacobsInc. Or you can even do it at the Venmo at the Kim Jacobs Show. And so make sure you take a moment. Everybody get busy and everything, but you know how y'all, I know y'all, I'm not saying everybody, but anything that I want to pour into, I take a moment, I stop, and I do it right then. And I'm like, let me do this right now. Because if I don't do this right now, guess what? It's not going to happen. And most of the times when I wait, it doesn't happen. So if that's you, take a moment and go ahead and do some type of contribution. We'll give a shout out to you as well. And it's our honor and privilege to be able to do that. So you'll just randomly hear throughout the week me shouting out people that have given contributions to the Kim Jacobs Show. And thank you for all of those that already do. All right, let me see. I wanted to also let you know that my son, Ivan, we're getting ready. We're going to close out here. Yeah, okay. My son, Ivan, he is an ambassador for the Boomer Esiason Foundation, and he's attempting to get $4,000 to help raise funds to find a cure for CF. The funds go directly to the organization, but he's the ambassador that's been charged to attempt to raise these funds. So our desire is to rally around him and help him raise those funds. No matter what amount it is, then you can just send it right.
Hey, my name is Ivan, and I live with cystic fibrosis. I was diagnosed at 17 years old, and I had a hard time accepting the fact that this was my new normal. In a split second, I had pills I needed to take, treatments I had to do, and statistics that weren't favorable. So I decided to take CF head on. I became an ambassador and advocated for the disease. I took my treatments regularly, and I try to be an inspiration for my siblings. If you also live with cystic fibrosis, I know it can be hard, but what you're doing is also inspiring other people. I'd love to hear about some of your personal victories. Please share them below this video.
All right, everyone. So the link is there, and it's also in the comments section. I do want to also let you know that this Saturday, and this is happening April 20th. If it's December and you're watching the show, just enjoy the show. But if April 20th, we have a program that's taking place, and Lady Cassandra Davis from Servant Church in North Carolina is hosting this event, and it is going to be an epic event. And she actually works with the Kim Jacobs Show and does all the flyers and different things behind the scenes that you all don't always get to see her in the forefront. But it's my honor and my privilege to be able to announce her program that's happening this Saturday. And it's the CIS Encounter. It's not a conference, it's an encounter. So the CIS Encounter, and that's Sisters Intentionally Serving. And they will be and I'm going to be there too, but it's going to be at the Goodwill Career Center on Wilkinson Boulevard in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the guest speaker is going to be phenomenal. So make sure you all go ahead and get your tickets for that if you don't already have them. And I do have the registration. It's only $25, only $25 to attend. So make sure you all get those registrations in today. Still, her number, she's already exceeded her goal, but I want her to be blown away with her goal. How about that? So make sure that you all register. And the final thing I'll tell you, and we'll close out here, is that on April 30th, and that's going to be at the Charlotte Museum of History, we're having a summit called eWomen Network's 15th Annual Summit. And we're going to be having our founder, Sandra Yancey, is going to be here from Dallas, Texas, and she's going to be talking to us in the Charlotte area about how to unlock business secrets. So if you are a business entrepreneur, you're a corporate executive, you're a person that owns a brick and mortar, and you have the capacity to take on new clients and more clients, make sure that you go ahead and register and be a part of our eWomen Network Success Summit on April 30th. All right. So I think that's all for today's episode. We got in a whole lot. Do you all feel like we got a lot accomplished?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all in the studio audience for tuning in. Thank you, Mackenzie backstage, who's always faithfully back there helping. And everyone, we love you all and look forward to seeing you again on Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wait a minute. I didn't give you a chance to close comment. Do you have a closing comment, Dr. Tina J. Ramsay?
No, we
Okay.
said it all because we overtime.
Okay. Sharon?
Blessed day, everyone.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great one. Love you all. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you and make it a great day.